Do you think the stop motion aspect of The Nightmare Before Christmas makes it scarier?
Yes. I think I think it was intentionally done in stop motion because it worked better for that kind of film, and also because Tim Burton, like, he just does stop motion. That's the kind of animation that he does. But also, stop motion seems way less realistic in terms of the way people move than regular animation does. Like, if you think about Tangled or Soul, like, that kind of classic animation is very realistic. Obviously, you know that it's not like, it's animated people, it's not live action, but the way people move is much more naturalistic and is trying to mimic the ways that people move. Whereas with stop motion, as much as they are trying to make it look, semi-realistic by moving the characters like just a tiny bit at a time so that each frame is very similar and so that it looks very graceful and more natural, you can't achieve that same kind of movement that you can with drawing, I don't think. And so that, like, kind of jerkiness really lends to the effect of, like, creepy and otherworldly and just, like, not seeming like the way that people really move.
So it's like the fluidity of digital or drawn animation makes it seem more realistic.
Yeah.
I think I agree, but I also just feel like stop motion isn't just solely going to be creepy though. Like, I remember what was the Wallace and Gromit Chicken Run, that style, when I was a kid. I actually watched Chicken Run and I think I had nightmares for like 2 or 3 days straight, just because I don't know how old I was, but I was not okay with whatever that film was talking about. I literally
Because
have blocked it out.
I think Chicken Run is actually, like, particularly scary because it's speaking to something that, like, actually happens in the real world, whereas in, like, Nightmare Before Christmas, like, yes, it's scary because the creatures are scary, and they're, like, horrifying the kids, but, like, it's not real. But, like,
Yeah.
Chicken Run, these are, like, farmed animals literally trying to run away from people trying to kill them. Like, it's... Who made the decision to, like, let that happen? When we draw the parallels to real life, I'm like, wow, that was, like, a ballsy move.
But then when I think about Fantastic Mr. Fox, the stop motion aspect of Fantastic Mr. Fox actually made me think it was charming. I didn't think that it was
Yeah,
scary
it's,
or
like,
creepy.
cute.
But then I
That's
also
true.
watched it as an adult. So I'm wondering,
Yeah.
if I watched it as a kid, would I be like, oh no, very creepy? But I guess, like, that's the thing, is that, like, Nightmare Before Christmas, we're watching it as an adult. It has a dark theme. We're not going to see it as creepy necessarily, but it does feel a little bit like, like, intense. And I think it does speak a lot to, like, what you were saying about how, like, the jitteriness makes it feel just, like, a little bit not normal, because when we move as human beings, like when I'm moving my hand, it's very fluid. There's no, like, kind of, like, little tick, 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 like, I don't know. We're not like a clock, or we're not like a wind up bunny or something like that. But I don't think necessarily the style of stop motion is scary. I think it's kind of like just the setting and all of the different characters. But at the same time, I also kind of feel like Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, like, the themes are dark, but it's also very whimsical and it's very charming. Like, the little, I don't know, like, the little surprises in the boxes when things kind of pop out, or even like the scene where Oogie Boogie, the one with the little cloth around him, and then, like, when he gets defeated, like, all the bugs are inside. It's gross that it's bugs inside, but it's kind of fun to see, like, the amount of bugs in there. I think what makes me really enjoy the film is that attention to detail. You're just like, wow. And I think every single stop motion film that I watch, I'm just like, wow, someone did a lot of stuff. And that must have taken ages.
Yeah, I just feel like when it's animation, I really have to, like, appreciate the film more than if it's live action, because in the film business, like, obviously so much detail goes into every single shot, and every single thing that is in the scene, but it just feels like so much more work when it's animation. And we know because you said it took 3 years to make this film, and I think that's almost like on the shorter side for animation. Like nowadays when we see Disney movies come out, I feel like they take like 5 or even more years. So just the sheer amount of time that goes into making these films, I feel like I need to like extra appreciate them for the work that went into it.
Yeah, I wonder if it was just 3 years to do the stop motion-y bit, and then there might have been prep before, and then like everything after. Like nowadays, I think animation, the 5 years, maybe 2 years of that is just character design. Like there must have been like 5-10 different versions of Elsa before Elsa became Elsa with the hair and the outfit.
Yeah, and so much detail goes into these characters now because animation is getting better and better and more realistic. So I think that timeline is just going to continue to go up when it comes to animation in terms of how long actually goes into making each of these films. Like, even between the first Frozen and the second Frozen, you can see a difference. Like, not a huge difference, but there's evolving animation styles and techniques just from 2014 to 2019, I think is when the second one came out. So just like half a decade, you already see changes.
And I'm also on the lookout for a new laptop right now, and I'm the one who edits, and I also like do the editing for the videos, and also at work like I use a lot of Photoshop, etc. And so I'm looking at kind of like video output or like export times and all of that, and sometimes maybe the export time takes up like 10% of the 5 years or whatever, because these films are probably like massive files. So there's like also technology that is in play with like all of these different animation developments. Like of course it's going to be more detailed, but with more detail that means that you have more layers, and with more layers the file is just going to be massive. So I just can't even imagine like how stacked those computers are that these animators are working on, because it must be next level to make something so high resolution and like render some character with so much detail. Unless maybe it's like actually a separate process, like maybe they do like a mold and then like draw out the scene or whatever, and then there's like another computer that does the layering of the effects. But that seems silly. Like I feel like, wouldn't you just have an Elsa that has all of these textures and then put the Elsa into a frame? I don't know.
I remember when we were watching Soul, there was some really interesting special features, just like on Disney Plus, not even on the DVD. And it went into a little bit how they made the film, because it was being made during COVID. And so they ran into the issue of the animators not having access to these computers or these files or whatever it was at their own homes, because they don't have the same kind of equipment. And so they had to like take home, I don't remember what it was, the computers or the storage, so that they were actually able to work from home. And I have a friend whose partner is some kind of editor, and so he has to do a lot of work on his own computer, and he was talking about just like the difference in amount of time it takes to export the work he does. And he recently got a new computer, and he was saying previously it took something like 8 hours to export a single frame, and now it's like a couple of minutes. So just the progress that's being made in not just animation, but like computer design and
technology,
just
in general.
Like technology is constantly progressing.
And then imagine the amount of detail that you can start to like cram into every single frame now, because if it's now going to be a couple minutes, then that 1 hour you can actually like, or not 1 hour, but like the couple minutes from the 8 hours, you can use 7 of those hours to do more things in the frame. And I'm not like advocating that,
it's
like
more efficient.
Yeah, but I'm not advocating that it needs to be like the most detailed thing ever, but I think that means that either things can be developed more quickly, or animated films can just be much more impressive in nature.